But when I was younger, I was like pissed off about the idea of someone telling the world how I actually am. I made it my mission to make sure that no one was ever going to write anything or say something about me that wasn't true.
Hiya, babes. How are you?
Long time no see.
Long time no see. It's been like a week.
It literally has.
It literally
I don't know.
has.
I'm struggling to think what I've done without you.
Oh, babe, me too. Well, after the pep talk you gave me after last time I saw you.
Oh, brilliant.
Now, people
You
need
were
to know that
brilliant.
Florence Pugh is the queen of pep talks.
Yeah, I take after my mother.
Is she great at pep talks? Is that where you get
My
it
mum
from?
is very good at being like, stop being ridiculous and get on with it. You're going to be amazing. Obviously, you're going to be amazing. And I'm like, okay. Done.
And that's exactly the energy you channeled into
Yeah,
me.
stop being ridiculous. It's going to be brilliant.
Exactly, babes.
All we want is to chat to you, always.
Oh, stop. Picking that at the top of the CV.
Yeah.
From now on the podcast, that's all we want to do.
All we want to do is talk to you.
Well, since then, you've literally broken my heart, babes.
What have I done?
Well, I mean, We Live in Time, I think, is one of the most beautiful and heartbreaking movies I think I've ever watched. Like, I was actually talking to my friend about it after I saw it, and I burst into tears. Like, honestly, so I don't know how I'm going to get through this looking at you without crying. You were filming it. Was there a moment that really hit you in the heart?
The world that Andrew and I created was so alive, and every single day we went into work, the trust and the respect and the love that we had for each other was just growing and growing and growing, which meant that we were able to go so much further with our performances each day. And so there were certain things that would happen just because they were so emotional, and we'd be having an emotional conversation within the scene, and John would come in and be like, no, Florence, you can't cry here. I'd be like, what? This is heartbreaking. And he was like, no, you are the pillar of the family, and he is the one. This is something that happens to him, but not to you. And so then when you do actually break down, it's hopefully gonna really hurt the soul. So yeah, I think the argument towards the end of the movie where they are screaming at each other, and she says, I don't want to be someone's dead fucking mum. Was really quite horrible to say every single time, because she's so angry. And it's the first time that we see her, she's so angry. And every time my throat would like close.
Yeah.
We're both like...
I'm like feeling my throat close
I know.
as you're saying it. Because the next line after that, where she says, I don't want to be forgotten.
Yeah, I don't know which is worse.
Honestly, that line
Yeah.
just hit me so hard. And it's also a discussion that we really shy away from, isn't it? Death.
Yeah.
And to have it thrown on screen in this way is it's very confronting.
Yeah.
And also it's going to start so many important conversations. Why do you think we avoid talking about that so much?
I don't know. It's one of the things that Andrew and I have been talking about with lots of people on this press tour, how, and he speaks about it so beautifully, and he's gone through, hard griefs in the last few years, so it's really touching listening to him talk about it. So I'm sorry he's not here, but it's funny, the one thing that is inevitable, like it really is inevitable, that if you're born you will die. And it's the one thing that in our culture we're really crap at dealing with, and we don't know how to talk about it, we don't know how to confront people, we don't know how to comfort people, we don't know how to process it other than it's just something you have to get through. And actually the whole reason behind grief being so painful is because the love was so large and so pure. And actually it's a wonderful thing. It's a beautiful part of having to say goodbye to a love is that unfortunately that is the price you pay for feeling so much.
Yeah.
And if we can in some way try and change that perspective, then wonderful. And it's been something really touching about this movie is, I took some of my friends before it was a completely finished product. I took some of my friends to one of the viewings a few months ago, and my best friend turned to me at the end of the screening and she was weeping, but very, very still. And she just held my hand and she said, this movie really makes me want to live.
Oh, wow.
And it was like, yeah, simple. That's perfect. That's exactly what this movie is about. It's a very simple tale of two people that love each other so much that they just want to spend as much time with each other before it ends for them. There's nothing frilly about it. There's no big explosions. There's no car chase. There's no weird, twist at the end like they're siblings. It's the most simplest of things, which is that we are here to love and be loved.
What's your own relationship been like with dealing with grief? And also because in the movie, it's not just about grieving for others, it's grieving for former parts of yourself too.
For me, I think the scariest thing about grief is that it means that something's going to change. And I'm not someone that is terrified of change, but I think I'm terrified of the change within, the love that I can't give anymore, which is obviously a very natural response. And it is scary for everyone, like just because I can talk about it doesn't necessarily mean that I know or I've cracked the code of how to be around it. But definitely this movie, and also listening to Andrew and the way that he talks about it, has totally educated me in how I really want to go forward with the idea of grief, and that it doesn't need to be dark. It can actually be quite colourful, and that it kind of needs to be embraced, otherwise it's going to lock you up.
It's a very cathartic watch. So to dive into it, what did you find the most cathartic element of it for you? What did it help you deal with in life?
It really woke me up, and actually when we finished shooting, it was such an incredible experience, and making it with Andrew was so... I felt like I met someone who was really willing to go there as much as I wanted to, and I'm so glad that it was us two. And it's been so thrilling talking about it with him, because it really was such an alive time. But when we finished, there was this emptiness naturally, obviously, and all of the lessons of this film kind of like washed over me. And I definitely wanted to wake up to my own decisions, and I didn't want to push things anymore. And I suppose what you're asking for me was having this movie affect me in the way that I knew and hoped that it was going to affect an audience member. And I wanted to be in control of the things that I had been pushing or burying my head in the sand. And I had a huge wake-up call. I changed things that I wanted to change. I, checked things within my body that I needed to check. And so many of the things that I'd been kind of pushing off and letting my career take the front, I suppose, having my career lead the nature of my life, I really had to let what this piece of art was supposed to be about also affect me. So that was a really beautiful but scary thing, and making sure that I didn't just kind of carry on in the way that I had before, but actually allow the piece of work to do what it was supposed to do. So that was very cathartic. Yeah.
It's very scary to confront yourself like that, isn't it? To face yourself in the mirror and go, I need to make a change in whatever direction it might be.
Yeah.
But it's so important to do that.
Well, and also you can't then be confused why it doesn't work. Once you're awake and once you've realised all the things that you need to change, you can continue and pretend like you didn't see it. But you're going to have the same results. Things are going to end up in the same ways. Relationships are going to end up in the same ways. You're not going to really move on with your soul and your, I suppose, and your wants and your needs if you don't actually start making the decisions now. Yeah.
Did Andrew actually shave your hair?
Yeah.
What was that moment like, and why was that so important for you to shave your hair?
Oh my God, I wouldn't have done. I mean, if I couldn't have shaved my head, I wouldn't have accepted this movie. I think it is so important to do it. If you're lending yourself to a story like this, if you're lending yourself to a cancer story like this, I personally, I couldn't have not done it.
What do you do with the box of hair?
I've still got it.
Do you just have it on the shelf?
No, I don't have it on the shelf. I just had a few pieces. It's very emotional having your hair chopped like that. And I've done it now a few times, and I've always regretted not saying, "Can I have some?" Because it's mine.
Yeah, it's yours.
My hair. Yeah. But now I have it.
When I came away from this movie, and what I think in general anyway, is that true success in life is how you affect people.
Yes, totally.
100%. But you've had the most incredible last few years in your career.
Thank you.
How have you looked at success differently, or how has your perception of success changed?
It's funny because every time I climb the mountain, I get to the top and I see there's another mountain. And there isn't another mountain. That's just obviously like, I guess, personal goals. And I love working hard. And that's something that I need to also now kind of change, because as much as it's a wonderful feeling, it means that your life is also not really active. So that's something that I need to kind of like genuinely need to start plotting in space for me to live my life. And that's not to say that I'm not, and I'm really proud of the work that I've done, but I definitely acknowledge that there's this drive in me, which is great, and I'm so grateful that I have it, also means that I don't smell the roses as much as I should, which is something my dad always tells me. And I definitely do try to when I have pinch me moments, like when I'm at the Oscars with Oppenheimer. Like, that's like, okay, you can pat yourself on the back and smell those roses, babe. And then going on an insane press tour with June and being with my friend Timmy and Zendaya and like, you know, there are moments where I go, oh my God, I'm here. Like 10 years ago, I did my premiere for The Falling in London Film Festival in October. Come October, it'll be 10 years since I've been in the industry. And I've done a lot in 10 years, and I'm so proud of myself. So yeah, playing a woman that has this like crazy drive that does not stop. Even when she's got a few months left to live, she's like, I've got to do the next thing. But yeah, going back to what you said, it is we've been talking about it, Andrew and I, for the press tour, of like, how do we want people to feel when we leave? He hates the question because he's like, I don't really want to live like that. I want to live for all the decisions that I want to make for those reasons, which I also respect and I admire. But for me, like, my biggest thing is that I just want people to feel, affected in a good way by my being around.
100%.
And kindness is the most important thing, and making sure that people feel like I've seen them and I've acknowledged them, and that like there is a human connection as opposed to a numb one, I suppose.
I think that's so important, because also in the movie it's those tiny moments of everyday kindness that are almost the most touching moments in the whole movie.
Yeah, it's real people.
It's real. And it's when you have a moment of random act of kindness, when someone is kind to you and you least expect it, it's so amazing because you feel like you're seen in a way that you don't the rest of the time.
Yeah.
Has there been like a moment where you've had a random act of kindness given to you and it's really found you at the right time?
Yeah, I was on a train and I was sat like with a seat that was opposite, and it was really, really tight seating, so like knees were touching, and there were so many other seats on the train, and this man came and sat in front of me. And you know when you want to have your own moment and you're like, why are you sat opposite? Also, I'd just been broken up with by my boyfriend, and I was like weeping, and I was like, why is there someone in front of me now? And I started like, I was trying to keep it in, but I couldn't. And I had my headphones in, and he was a very sweet man. And I looked up at him, and he just like put his hand on my knee and tapped it. And then he mouthed, "Are you okay?" And I went, "Mm-hmm." And he said, "Do you want a hug?" And I was like, "Mm-mm." But then he just kept his hand there. And I remember being so grateful that he was there. And it was just so tiny, so beautiful. Sliding doors, like, that man didn't need to sit there. He obviously felt a reason to sit there. I did want to be on my own, but actually when he just gave me the tiniest form of affection, I felt like that's the sole reason why we met on the train at that point. But it goes back to the movie. Every single person that affects them in those one scenes, like, that's what I love about having scenes where you have an actor for that one scene and they affect those characters' lives for the rest of their lives. And that's how life is, whether you go into a doctor's appointment and you have a kind doctor that manages to see you at the end of their very, very busy day at the hospital, or all of these people completely affecting their lives and just being humans, kind humans. We are actually quite kind.
Yeah, we are. And we need to be reminded of that, and that's what I think is so special about it. And also, like, the thing about you, which is so incredible, like, when I was watching this, you truly are one of our greatest performers. And I mean that with my full soul. Like, you're so incredible. Like, when you watch you on screen, you feel every single moment. But to do that, you have to give so much of yourself.
Yeah.
And that's very exposing too. And you always go there, always, in every performance. How have you learned to look after yourself and your mental well-being?
Gosh, that's a good question. I'm still figuring it out. I don't think I'd be able to do this without going there all the way and putting myself in all of those characters that I've played. There's always a piece of me. And there's always a moment at the end of filming where I like protect and defend those characters until the very end, even if they've done god-awful things.
Yeah.
I think that's only natural when you're in someone for so long. But yeah, protecting myself is something that I've had to learn how to do. Like there's been some roles that I've given too much and I've been broken for a long while afterwards. Like when I did Midsommar, I definitely felt like I abused myself in the places that I got myself to go, which is, I mean, the nature of figuring these things out is you need to go, all right, well, I can't do that again because that was too much. But I also then look at that performance and I'm really proud of what I did and I'm proud of what came out of me. So I don't regret it. But yeah, there's definitely things that you have to respect about yourself. And that's something that I really admired Andrew, you know, when working with him. We had such mad respect for the places that we were going, and the conversations that we were having in these characters were really hard and horrible to have to deal with. And, you know, the more and more intimate we got as performers, the more and more harder it was to let go of it and say goodbye to those scenes. And so we allowed ourselves time to grieve those moments and say goodbye to those characters, and it got harder and harder to finish those days. And like, for example, in that argument scene, when it was over, we were both crying and we were both just holding each other and crying because in that conversation, they've now figured out that that Alma isn't going to continue in the way that Tobias wants her to. And we both found that incredibly emotional, watching those characters make that decision and being there. We needed to respect and close the set in that way. So I think going forward, I'm definitely going to try and do that more, of respecting what those characters are going through, but also what we're going through when we're having those communications with one another.
And especially like just away from work as well, when you're doing such an amazing job where you give so much of yourself, you also find yourself in the public eye. And one of the things I love about Alma is she doesn't want to be defined by anything or anyone. She wants to define herself for her. And over the last 10 years, that decade you've had to go on a journey to maybe navigate that and deal with defining yourself on your own terms.
Yeah.
How have you managed to do that? And how hard has that been when other people are trying to define you all the time?
It's very hard. It's exhausting as well. It's really, really tiring. I think especially, I mean, like young women in this industry have so much to fight for and to protect and to defend and then yet to shout about. It's really, really hard. It's an experience and it does make you claim yourself. It makes you have to figure yourself out. But it's changed in the same way that Almut's kind of like opinions changed. I've changed in the way that I want to fight for things now, in a great way, I'm a needing to protect myself way. You know, when I was younger, and I still do now, but when I was younger, I was like so pissed off about the idea of someone telling the world how I actually am or why I'm doing things. And I made it my mission to make sure that no one was ever going to write anything or say something about me that wasn't true, or to defend my reasons as to why I needed to do that, or why I loved someone, or why I was in that situation. And I hated the idea that someone, you know, could say something and then that became fact. So I really, really did shout and stand by my opinion. And then, you know, the world, there's more people looking at you then, you know, the more famous you get and the more on this, you know, in the spotlight you get, there's more and more people that have opinions about you, and you go, okay, well, I've done that now, and people now know who I am and they know where I stand on things, and actually I now need to protect myself, and I actually don't need to shout as much anymore, and I actually have definitely put in the time so that people can understand where I am, who I am, and now I get to just look after myself and I look after my heart, and that's where I am right now. And I wouldn't have changed anything. I think I'm really proud of the things that I stood up for, and I'm also really proud of the fact that I don't have to do that anymore, and I'm allowed to live my own, live in my own place and live in my own head, and people don't need to know what I think about things anymore. But yeah, it's hard. It's the time that I came into the industry was Time's Up and Me Too, and navigating, understanding and learning from women as well was really important. And now we're in a time which is, it's definitely getting better for women, and but it doesn't mean that you don't constantly have to keep on fighting for things that you believe are correct.
And we always finish on one final question in this podcast, and that is, in the reign of your life, what's the one rule you'll always live by, Florence?
Oh my God! Okay, it's a not serious one.
Oh no, we love a non-serious one.
But it completely is serious for me. Wear the sodding outfit.
Yes, babe.
Wear it.
And you always wear the sodding outfit.
What are you waiting for? Wear the sodding outfit. Wear the shoes, wear the handbag, wear the weird earrings, wear the snail ring that you bought randomly in a random market. Wear it.
Yeah.
You're not going to wear it next year. Wear it now.
Yeah. And you become such a great symbol for that.
Yeah.
To express yourself, be you.
Literally,
get out there.
we live in time. I mean, come on. I'm only going to be this young right now. Yeah. So wear the sodding outfit. I can't wait to get old and be fabulous though.
Babe, you're the most fabulous.
I'm going to have pink hair. Pink hair.
I've just had the vision of what you're going to be like.
That's going to be me.
Yeah, you're the best.
Thanks, love.
Thank
Lovely
you
to
so
chat
much.
to you.
So great chatting to you.
Perfect way to start my morning.